Hello, my name is Sarah and this is Sarah Yoga. Welcome. Today we have a special practice, yoga for endometriosis. If you don't know what that is, feel lucky. If you do know what that is, this practice is for you. Sometimes if you have this thing called endometriosis, you experience a lot of pain. Sometimes you feel like you want to curl up in a little ball and die. If that's you, this is your practice. So this is a pretty painful disease that can kick in, and a lot of people don't even know that they have it. If you don't have endometriosis, but you are experiencing any kind of pain or just feel like incapable of moving, this can also be a great practice for you. So we're gonna really work on just finding ease in the mind. This isn't going to be a heavy workout in any way. We definitely will move a little bit, but it's more about releasing some of that more negativity towards our own body and becoming more aware of our own body. So again, you don't need any fancy clothes. These are my pajama pants, honestly. That's all you're gonna need is a mat today, nothing else, just you, yourself, and your mat. And hopefully this will help, and so we'll just dive right into it and hope to find some ease. Okay, so we're gonna start in a child's pose, which is like a heaven sent. And you know, if you're having a couple days ago, I really could have just stayed in child's pose. That's all I could really do. So if that is the kind of day that you're having, honestly, feel free to just stay in the child's pose. There's no point in really trying to push yourself when your body is trying to recover and heal and moving through a lot of that pain. So we're gonna come right into child's pose, knees wide, big toes together. And we'll sink it down, forehead comes down. And so give yourself a chance here to really just surrender. All right, notice if you have any sort of negative thoughts towards your own body, towards just the fact that, you know, you're experiencing pain and you wish it wasn't happening. So all of that is relevant and all of that is legit. But we're going to try and reduce some of that struggle. So come into your breath here. And if your breath feels obstructed in any way, no big deal. Just do the best that you can. And really feel yourself surrender into the ground. So physically surrendering, kind of just allowing yourself to be where you are. And so there may be nothing necessarily that you can do to change the way you're feeling, but we can focus a little bit deeper on the breath, and we can work to release some of the internal struggle if you've done everything you can externally to aid or to fight whatever you're fighting. Take a few more rounds of breath here. So if you are experiencing any sort of nausea or bloating or digestive issues, when we come out of this pose, just move slow. All right, you might have kind of like a shift of energy, a shift of blood flow from having your head below the heart. So we're going to start to rise up here. Take your time, bring the knees in slightly underneath your hips. Spread your fingers, tuck your toes, and just a few really gentle rounds of cat-cow. So if you can manage to find some length through the spine by opening up the chest, use your inhale there, and then again, really gentle, letting your head drop and slightly pushing into the ground, rounding through the upper back. So I don't know about you, but when I'm sick or if we have some sort of injury or pain or physical ailment, I hate the idea of being stagnant. It does not feel good in my body. But there really are moments where I cannot do the regular yoga practice that I would like. So as always, just taking these cat-cows, taking any of this movement at the pace that you need, because you're not really serving your body if it is trying to move through something, if you're expending more energy that it needs, right, to fight whatever that thing is. But that being said, just a little bit of movement sometimes can make all the difference, right? It starts to shift things around like you're a snow globe. And if you can manage in a very mindful, gentle way, finding these cat-cows. All right, so we're gonna come, and again, if this is way too much, like I said, some days downward dog is really blech, right? Go into child's pose. Or, right, if you can manage, we're going to take it up into downward dog. And again, if you are coming up into downward dog, this might be a lighter version of your downward dog, right? We're not trying to find the hardest full extension of this pose, but just enough so we can get that nice stretch into the arms and into the legs, right? Feeling that shift of blood flow again back to the brain, letting the weight of the head go. If you like, you can even pedal out the legs a little bit here, roll out the ankles if you have stiffness from maybe being stuck on the couch. And then come back into your breath. If you're in child's pose, really surrendering into the ground, working on just finding your breath, noticing how your body feels. All right, so let's meet, whether you're in child's pose or downward dog, we're gonna meet in a forward fold at the top of the mat, or wherever you want on your mat, the middle of the mat maybe. So this one we're gonna keep the feet hip-width distance apart, and just let the head drop down. And so just letting your head hang heavy here. And again, this might be a lot, right? Normally this would not be a lot, but maybe today it is a lot. So take your time and just take it one step at a time. If it becomes too much, you can always come back into that child's pose. I'm gonna hang here for just an extra moment to, again, shift that blood flow, kind of stir things up like we are in that snow globe. And then start to breathe into your lower back, your low belly. You might feel this into the hips, down into the inner shins or the inner thighs, right? Just depending on, how your body is handling everything. This might feel like a deep, deep stretch. It might feel uncomfortable. There's a lot of different things. So observing all of that. If you can here for one extra moment, put a little bend in your knees and maybe grab opposite elbows and just let your head hang. And then find your breath into your low belly, your low back.
Let's take one more inhale here. And then exhale, release the arms, bend your elbows, and we're going to roll it up like a rag doll, nice and slow. Chin to chest.
Head is the last thing to come all the way up. And again, you might feel a little bit of a blood rush here. It's okay. Take your time, feel that energy moving down, so starting to shift some of this more flighty, worried, stressful energy from the chest down into the belly. Take a nice big breath into the belly, the low back. And then exhale, release. So we're not gonna go through, typical sun salutations, but we are gonna just move through a few soft ones. Take a breath and reach up. And then on your exhale, let's just go straight down to the ground. And then from here, we're just gonna rise right back up on the inhale. You can roll up, you can lead with your heart, take it up. Exhale to the heart. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, reaching up. And exhale, diving it down. So this time, I'm going to plant the hands, step it back, bring the knees down, and then lower all the way down to the belly. And so once in the belly, it's maybe a lot of tightness through the abdomen, especially if you are dealing with any form of endometriosis, right? Lots of abdominal pain usually, or lower abdominal pain. So we're going to take this nice and slow and walk the hands out, lengthen the toes back, and just take a sort of broad stretch here. So maybe a breath or two more if you can. Really opening that up. And then we'll exhale. Let it go. Hands come under the shoulders. Take your time. Let's go up and back. We're going to move right into a low lunge on either side. So right foot goes forward. And we'll just rise up for one breath here. Inhale, take it up. And then exhale, release. So really just feeling a stretch into that left hip. And let's switch sides. Right knee goes back. Left foot forward. Inhale, rise it up. Exhale, release. Let's step it back. You can take a downward dog, or again, right, maybe it's just a child's pose. That's perfectly fine. Maybe you've been hanging out in child's pose. And come back to your breath. And so just checking back in, noticing, right, any sensation in the body that you can notice. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to rise back up. We're going to move through a pigeon pose. So this super helpful, right? If the hips are tight, lots of emotional energy also stored in the hips. We'll start with that right foot, step it forward, walk it over to the left. And again, we're not trying to find, right, super technical alignment for this today. We're just trying to give ourselves some relief. So sinking those hips down, taking a breath in, maybe finding some length, and then just exhale, letting yourself come right down into it. And don't really worry about fidgeting too much. Starting to breathe into this right hip. And you can check in with the jaw, the back of the throat. And so depending on your body, one side might be tighter than the other. Depending on your cycle, right? One side might be experiencing more pain than the other. But really just check in and notice, if there is any sort of internal no or this like negative reaction towards your own body. And your body's doing the best that it can. So you're trying to get rid of any of that violent thinking towards your own body. Trying to provide healing energy. The most support that you can. And just a few more rounds of breath here, really feeling into that right hip, maybe a stretch into the outer or the front of your left hip flexor. And then take your time. So, all of these poses, you can stay for longer. If you're like, ooh, this is getting into something, feel free to stay there. I'm going to move on just for the purpose of this video not being forever long. We're going to just take our time, come out of that side. So any movement you want to take here, maybe roll out through the hips. A little back bend. You can come into downward dog to straighten out that right leg. And then we'll start to make our way into the other side. So left foot goes forwards. That foot over to the right. Find your pigeon on the left side. And just give yourself a breath in to find length. And then exhale, sinking it down. This side is definitely the tighter side for me. There's always a lot of resistance here on this side. And if you can, stick with it, stick with the breath. Let go of the back of the throat and the jaw. Notice if you're holding tension anywhere else to kind of counter tension that you're feeling in the hip. And then we'll start to breathe here into the low belly, the low back. And letting whatever comes up, come up. And if you really do just kind of feel miserable today, right? That is how you feel. All right, so we'll take our time. Again, stay here longer if you need to. Rise up. Send that left knee back. Take any of the same movements that you did on the other side. A couple circles with those hips. Maybe a downward dog, pedaling out the legs. And move cautiously, move slow. And then we're going to come around and set ourselves up for Paschimottanasana, a forward fold. So feet extend out in front of you, hip width distance or feet together. Take a breath in, extend up. You can have a little bend in your knees here to find that length. And then on your exhale, we're going to fold. You can hang on to anything. If you can reach the feet, go for the feet. If not, maybe the knees, the shins. And just feel the heart pull forward and then exhale, release down into it. And then we'll release, and as you release, point your toes and start to roll it all the way up. You can wiggle out the feet, maybe lean back and just kind of wiggle out the feet. So now we're going to make our way into bridge pose, or I know I said we didn't need any props, but I'm kind of forgot that maybe this would be a nice pose to have a prop. It's another thing, right? Your memory kind of goes out the window during these little cycles. So if you do have a block or a pillow is great too, you might want to grab that. I'm just going to grab my block. And you can always do this without. You know, it's just, it's a little bit more restorative if you have something, anything, pillow, block, bolster, whatever you got. So we're going to come down onto the back and take ourselves into a bridge, or a supported bridge if you have one of those props. I definitely prefer the supported one. So grabbing your whatever you've got, maybe sliding it right underneath the tailbone. And if you don't have that, right, you just hold the hips up, rolling the shoulder blades underneath you. But everyone has a pillow. Right, a pillow is perfect, or you could take two pillows or a pillow and fold it in half. And so we get this nice pull across the front of the abdomen, and you get sort of a chin lock on the thyroid, which helps with temperature control, right, which is another thing that might go out the window for you. Cold hands, cold feet. And this is also a good one to do just when you're on your cycle. It stretches the front of the abdomen and kind of pulls some of that loose. It's like equally feels slightly good, but also uncomfortable. Used to that feeling, getting used to that feeling a lot. A lot of things feel slightly good, but still slightly uncomfortable. And just gauging, we never really want to feel pain. Or we never want to create pain, I should say. You're probably experiencing pain, but you don't want to create any additional pain. And so as you just let your upper body, your shoulder blades, the back of the head, the weight of the arms release here, start to bring your attention into the lower belly, the lower back.
Really just giving yourself the time again to check in. I think a lot of the time we're used to kind of pushing that pain down, maybe told that it's not real. So for me, yoga is always a time to really zone in and start to notice my body. That being said, it can be overwhelming when you do start to notice what is actually going on there. So just breathing through that. I think it's more important to notice what's there for yourself. Initially it might be harder, but overall, right, it's going to serve you more. You'll get the treatment or care that you need. You're able to maybe give yourself the care that you need. And let's be honest, it can just be plain old miserable. Like this pose right now, I can just feel, right, all this pulling happening, which is not, typical of what I would normally feel on a happy day. But that's just kind of the practice, right? It's honoring what is there. All right, so I'm feeling ready to come out of this. Again, you can stay here as long as you want. This might be a little pinch here as you lift up, and then you're gonna slide that block out and let it go. So we're just gonna simply take this right into our Savasana. That being said, if you want to take just sort of like a quick twist, or maybe you feel like you, but overall, I sometimes feel like the twisting puts a lot of pressure and it's just too much, but that might not be the case for you. If you are doing the twist, make sure to do it on both sides, and then whenever you're ready, we're just gonna let it go into Savasana. You can stay here on your back. If it's not comfortable to be on your back, you can sit up in a seat, in sort of a meditation type seat. And so wherever you are, just bringing your attention back to your breath for these last few moments. Just observing any thoughts that might be streaming through the mind. Kind of looking at them from a distance. If you're familiar with meditation in any way, kind of moving through this Savasana almost like a meditation where you're just watching, observing the body, observing the mind, observing any sort of external distraction that might be happening. Letting your body take in, right, this brief practice, these small movements that might actually feel monumental, and letting them be monumental. So I will leave you here, either in your meditation or in your Savasana on your back. I hope this provided some ease, some attunement to your own body and your own mind. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste, and I hope to see you next time on XSarah Yoga. Feel better.